Industrial Sociology and Industrial Society. To describe the nature and scope of industrial sociology, to discuss the importance of industrial sociology, to list the applications of industrial sociology, to explain the nature of industrial society, to assess the impact of industrial society on the country. Students, you have noticed that the world we live in today is dominantly industrialized. Well, what is an industry? Industry is the application of complex and varied methods for the production of economic goods and services. That is, application of tools for economic production. Now we can look into the meaning of industrialization. The textbook definition of industrialization is a process that transforms agrarian and handicraft-centered economies distinguished by industry and machine manufacturing. Well, have you ever been to a handicraft factory? If you have, you would have to notice how various items like blankets, shawls, dolls, etc. are made. A machine is designed specifically for each product. The making of handicraft products no longer requires a man. Similarly, for agricultural purposes like extraction of oil, whitening of rice, etc., machines have replaced man. Of course, nowadays, industrialization does not restrict itself to handicraft and agriculture. Industrialization seems to make lives easier and helps the economy grow as it increases production. Did you ever wonder how it increases production? Well, let us consider a scenario involving a man who is making a shawl against a machine making the same type of shawl. By the time the man can complete even a quarter of the shawl, the machine would have completed one. So students, you can see that by the time the man completes one shawl, the machine would have made at least 2, 3 or even 4. Do you now understand how it helps in increasing the production of goods? This society, which is becoming very industry dependent, is called industrial society. To ensure the steady improvement, industrial sociology was evolved. Well, now, let me ask you one question. What is industrial sociology? Industrial sociology deals more with soft skills of man. It involves the function of people in the world of business and making the efforts of people compatible with man. So in simple words, industrial sociology is defined as the study of the motivation and behavior of people at the workplace. Industrial sociology has considerably widened its scope, but its method and approach remain essentially the same. You see, students, it is important to understand that industrial sociology is a complex mixture of other social sciences. The social sciences like psychology, economy, and sociology provide the methods to correct the deficiencies of the work society. So, what is the ultimate motive of industrial sociology? The answer to that is social welfare. Social welfare is the main motive of industrial sociology. Students, how do you think it solves problems often encountered at workplaces? Industrial sociology deals issues presented with the application of sociological approach to the problems of industries in order to achieve a set of goals aimed. As man is endowed with intelligence, he has always been an industrial being. Hence, we can say that the sociological approach to industry involves the combined study of social relationships, groups, institutions, behavior of man in group of men and in isolation, thereby affecting the outcome. So students, do not get confused between industrial sociology and industrial psychology. Though the two seem very similar, they are actually very different subjects. Industrial psychology differs from industrial sociology as the former is individual oriented, but the latter is group oriented. In this chapter, you will learn the importance of industrial sociology, industrial society, and understand its impact on the economy. Students, you are now aware that industrial sociology is an applied discipline. We saw that it is concerned with the study of human relations as they grow and operate in the field of industries. It deals with the sociological concepts that have relevance to industry. It concentrates upon the social organizations of the workplace or industry and studies the patterns of interaction between people in terms of their roles in industrial organizations. Industrial organizations are also studied by other disciplines such as industrial management, industrial engineering, industrial psychology, and economics. But they study the phenomena of industry in different ways. Their studies sometimes may overlap. Industrial engineering deals with the design of products and equipments. Industrial management is more an art than a science. Industrial psychology studies the selection of personnel, job satisfaction, motivation, and incentive to work, team spirit, accident proneness, and such other personal matters and behavioral problems. Economics concentrates on such matters as prices, wages, profits, full employment, finance, monopoly, marketing, taxation, etc. But none of these sciences focuses its attention on the social or human aspects of industrial organizations. This is analyzed only by industrial sociology. Industrial sociology studies industrial organization not in terms of a technological or economic organization, but as a social or human organization. It gives more importance to the social or interactional factors in industrial relations, formal and informal organization, teamwork, communication, etc. So students, would you have noticed that there are many problems involved in a workplace? Each one of them wants to show that he or she is superior. When interaction among two or more persons is affected by the fact that one of them is a doctor, a teacher, a plumber, a factory worker, a stenographer, a boss, an employee, a union leader, or an unemployed person, we have before us the raw material of industrial sociology. The industrial sociology deals with the total organization of the workplace. It also deals with three different organizations which may be conceived of as distinguishable but interrelated, namely management organization, informal organization of workers, and union organization. Management organization. It refers to the relations between management and the workers. It also includes policies, programs, structure, and the functioning of the management. Its main emphasis is on the formal relations developed by the workers with the management. Informal organization. Informal organization of workers consists of informal relations developed voluntarily by the workers themselves. Such relations are established by the individuals and small groups within the factory or industry. Such organizations assume the forms of cliques, gangs, friendship groups, bands, etc. These organizations develop their own informal norms to control the activities of the members. Union organization. This refers to the role of trade unions and the participation or involvement of workers in union activities. Trade unions are playing a vital role in creating industrial unrest and maintaining industrial peace. They also control the formal and informal relations of the workers. These three organizations of the industry are affected by the physical conditions of the workplace, fashions in management thinking, governmental and other social control, the personalities of employees, and their experiences in playing roles in other organizations. Some of the categorical discussions within industrial sociology include communication. Who talks to whom, under what conditions, written, verbal and non-verbal communication, secrecy, etc. Pecking order, the structure and flow of power and decision making, the relationship of skills with wages. Community standards are expectations of the company from society, vendors, customers, neighbors, etc. Importance of industrial sociology. So students, now you know the nature and scope of industrial sociology. Have you not wondered yet what is the importance of industrial sociology? Well, now we will see the importance and the development of industrial sociology. Industrial sociology is given importance in a society where industrial revolution plays a significant role which caters to the growing demands of the people. The other advantages that increase the significance of industrial sociology are its use of scientific methods. Industrial sociology acquires great significance in view of scientific methods adapted to study. Scientific knowledge helps various institutions dealing with industrial society, its social control, social dynamics, social change problem. This widened the scope of industrial sociology. It would not be exaggeration to say that without knowledge of industrial sociology, industrial progress could not have been achieved. Secondly, it helps in understanding the social aspect of industry. The orderly movement of things based on certain rules takes any work to logical conclusion. That is the importance of science, and that is why it is called specialized knowledge. In Hindi language, science means Vigyan, that is Vishesh Gyan or specialized knowledge. The contribution of industries to the well-being of citizens of its country and humanity at large has become now predominant in the index of development of any nation. Industrial sociology has added new dimension to the knowledge of humanity. Students, take a look around the world today. Job roles decided expertise, division of labor, and degree of responsibility, and thus created vertical and horizontal setup in the organization. Occupation hazards are associated with industries which require matching counterbalance in the form of money, allowances, and other welfare measures. As workmen, supervisors, executives, policymakers are associated with any industry, a division is formed which gives feeling of differentiation, status consciousness, inferiority, superiority complexes, etc. This results in chaos and disrupts the normalcy. Industrial sociology helps in achievement of this objective. Important factors playing great roles in good industrial relation are rates of wages, working conditions, welfare measures, recruitment policy, job security, etc. Welfare measures are widely covered under the heading of food, cloth, and house, which we normally call roti, kapda, or makan. Industrial sociology is gaining importance due to its role played in taking care of all these discussed matters. Students, you must realize that mutual trust, sense of belonging, feeling of ownership, team spirit are very important. They ultimately result into higher quality production and give sustenance, and thus growth is achieved. Application of industrial sociology. Now you know how important industrial sociology is, but have you truly grasped the essence? To understand the importance of industrial sociology, it will probably be easier if we just look through some of the important applications of industrial sociology. I am now going to list out some of the applications of industrial sociology. It can be used to define various industrial relations. It can be used for social development, which involves socio-political as well as economic changes. It can be used to define various trade relations. It can be taught as a postgraduate subject. Trained sociologists can be created, and they may help in conducting various researches and training. It can be used as a source of trained personnel for various social institutes. It helps in defining and determining the various possible relations inside or outside the country. Industrial society. To enhance the growth of industrialization by industrial sociology, a specialized subject is studied called industrial society. So students, what is industrial society? If you recall, we came across the terms earlier. What is it? How did it evolve? In sociology, industrial society refers to a society driven by the use of technology to enable mass production, supporting a large population with a high capacity for division of labor. Such a structure developed in the West in the period of time following the Industrial Revolution and replaced the agrarian societies of the pre-modern, pre-industrial age. Industrial societies are generally mass societies and may be succeeded by an information society. Well, industrial society is characterized by the use of external energy sources such as fossil fuels to increase the rate and scale of production. The production of food is shifted to large commercial farms where the products of industries such as combined harvesters and fossil fuel-based fertilizers are used to decrease required human labor while increasing production. The excess labor is moved into these factories where mechanization is utilized to further increase efficiency. As populations grow, mechanization is further refined, and many workers shift to expanding service industries. Industrial society benefits the service industry that can provide labor to workers and those that benefit financially from them in exchange for a piece of production profits with which they can buy goods. These urban centers require external energy sources in order to overcome the diminishing returns of agricultural consolidation, partially due to the lack of nearby arable land, associated transportation and storage costs, and are otherwise unsustainable. This highly prioritizes the reliable availability of the needed energy resources in industrial government policies. Some theoreticians argue that we are located in the middle of a transformation or transition from industrial societies to post-modern societies. The triggering technology for the change from an agricultural to an industrial organization was steam power, allowing mass production and reducing the agricultural work necessary. Thus, many industrial cities are built around rivers. Identified as catalyst or trigger for the transition to postmodern or informational society is global information technology. Students, did you know that the industrial mode of production began some 250 years ago in Britain, and from there it spread to the entire world? In the simplest sense, an industrial society is a social system whose mode of production focuses primarily on finished goods manufactured with the aid of machinery. According to Wallace and Wallace, in industrial societies, the largest portion of the labor force is involved in mechanized production of goods and services. The term industrial societies originated from Saint Simon, who chose it to reflect the emerging central role of manufacturing industry in the 18th century Europe in contrast with previous pre-industrial and agrarian society. Characteristics of industrial society. Industrial society is associated with the emergence of industrialization, which transformed many parts of the world by replacing agriculture-based societies involving manual labor with industrial societies based on the use of machines and non-animal sources of energy to produce finished goods. Industrial societies are in a state of rapid change due to technological innovations. The high level of productivity in industrial societies further stimulates population growth, where people start living in cities and urban areas. Students, remember I told you that industrialization does not restrict to agriculture and handicrafts. It also serves the medical field as well. New medical technologies and improved living standards help to extend life expectancy. By now, you would have realized that the division of labor becomes complex with the availability of specialized jobs. The statuses are achieved, but it takes a toll on the society of India was known for. The family and kinship as a social institutions are downgraded to the background. There is a breakup of joint family system and nuclear family units become prominent. The influence of religion diminishes as people hold many different and competing values and beliefs. State assumes central power in the industrial societies. Industrialization is associated with the widening gap between two social classes of haves and have-nots. The rich or the capitalist class is seen as an exploiting class, and the poor class known as working class, which is seen as exploited. This leads to a terrible division of society. However, in most of the industrial society, there is a steady reduction in social inequalities. But students, all this is ignored as the industrial societies have given rise to a number of secondary groups such as corporations, political parties, business houses, and government bureaucracies, cultural and literary associations. The primary groups tend to lose their importance and secondary groups come to the prominence. Students, it no longer seems all these are great now, does it? Industrial society in India. Ever since the concept of industrial society sprawled India, there has been a constant debate and uncertainty if industrial society will help the nation. While industrial society has helped in the development of many countries worldwide, do you think India is one of them? The question is still debatable. Will India really benefit from an industrial society, or will it result in the morbidity of the nation? The debates rose to unimaginable heights as India was basically an agricultural society. Around 65% of the nation's income is through agriculture. We shall now weigh in the advantages and disadvantages of industrial society in India. Advantages of industrial society. New sources of energy. The coal-fired steam engine replaced traditional sources of power such as wood, wind, and water. Nations with abundant coal could benefit from the new technology. Railroad and steamships fired by the steam engine created important links between raw materials, industry, and market. New labor-saving technologies. Phases in textile production once done by hand, such as spinning and weaving, were mechanized. Factories replaced cottage industry and became more efficient through the use of interchangeable parts and the assembly line. Increased standard of living. The factory system was tremendously productive. Efficiencies of scale and improved transportation links meant cheaper consumer goods for everyone. The accumulation of great wealth provided the capital for further industrialization. New patterns of work. The factory system transformed rural laborers into industrial workers with rigid timetables and strict discipline. Workers faced long hours of tedious and often dangerous work. New social patterns. Industrialization separated work from home life and created separate spheres for men and women. Women, especially middle-class women, were expected to take care of home and children. Men are expected to work and provide for the family. Urbanization. Industrial centers grew rapidly through the 19th century. Large cities struggled to provide such services as water delivery, sewage disposal, police and fire protection, public education. The other general advantages are increased free trade between the nations, increase in capital allowing investors to finance the country, global mass media ties all around the world, greater ease of transportation of goods and people, spread of democratic ideals to other nations, increase in environmental protection. Let's look at some of the disadvantages of industrial society. Increased likelihood of economic disruptions in the country, thereby affecting other nations. Greater chances of violent reactions in an attempt to preserve cultural heritage and nature. Greater risk of diseases being transported unintentionally between nations. Spread of materialistic lifestyle and attitude that sees consumption as the path to prosperity. increase chances of civil wars within developing nations as they vie for resources, decrease in environmental integrity. So students, now you have a better idea of industrial sociology and industrial society in India. We saw what industrial sociology is. We studied its scope and its role. In a nutshell, industrial sociology is a study which leads to the betterment of the society, which is vastly dependent on industries. We saw the categorical discussions of industrial sociology being communication, pecking orders, and community standards. We then looked over the significance of industrial sociology and some of its applications. We now know that industrial sociology plays a very significant role in a country's economic growth. Industrial sociologists analyze every problem from a grassroots level and study the people involved, the scopes of jobs involved, the issue on the whole, and come up with solutions one by one. For every step, there is a hindrance playing a role in the issue. In the next topic, we learnt what industrial society is. India was an agricultural society till the invasion of the British. During their rule, they brought in industrial society bit by bit, and it slowly sprawled over India. Industrial society refers to a society driven by the use of technology to enable mass production, supporting a large population with a high capacity for division of labor. Such a structure developed in the West in the period of time following the Industrial Revolution and replaced the agrarian societies of the pre-modern, pre-industrial age. Industrial societies are generally mass societies and may be succeeded by an information society. We then saw the general characteristics of the industrial society and how different it is from the contemporary societies. In the next topic, we learned the impact of industrial society has on India. We then saw the different advantages and disadvantages of industrial society. From the advantages and the disadvantages, it's not really clear that India will not prosper with just the sole presence of either industrial society or agricultural society. India needs a balanced presence of both industrial society and agricultural society to bring about a fine development in economic growth.